The Cleaner. This is the new Daisy Ridley action movie, and uh, I really like Daisy Ridley. She's one of those actresses that doesn't get enough love in her field. She came from Star Wars, right? I mean, she'd done other things before that, I believe. But she was a very young and upcoming actress at the time. She was 20, early 20s at the time. And, because that franchise kind of went the way it did, she's been having a hard time escaping that franchise and being able to do other things afterwards. I mean, I think that's why she's one of the only actresses and actors who actually want to come back for the new more Star Wars. After that, John Boyega doesn't, all that stuff. But what she doesn't get a lot of credit for is like she's been doing some interesting stuff outside of Star Wars. She's been in some of these indie films and dramas and movies like this. While they not aren't great, they there's a lot to it with her performance and stuff. And so she's a very wonderful actress, wonderful lady, from what I understand, and she really is a talent I do admire. I just wish movies like this and Chaos Walking weren't things that people were seeing her in, because it really makes you a little sad for her, the state of her career, because she is such a wonderful actress. Let's start with the positives. This movie is directed by Martin Campbell, and I think Martin Campbell, he still has it at some points with his direction. He really knows how to make the action flow here and just be quick with it. That's almost to the film's detriment, but we'll get to that in the negatives. The lead performance through Daisy Ridley is really good. She pulls off the star of an action hero really well, and maybe that's part of it is because she had been in Star Wars up until this point, a couple other things. But she's been in kind of not exactly action franchises, but more somewhat action franchises. And she's been able to kind of bring that here and bring a certain and you read about certain things that she did to get this role and be involved with it. It was actually pretty cool, and it made for a fun movie. So at the end of the day, if you really like action movies, I'm not going to say don't check this one out. I'm going to say if you are really someone who can't stand the more generic, less interesting ones, don't bother with this. Skip it. You're good. But if you're someone who really loves action movies, you'll have a good time with it at the end of the day. I think this one's a fun enough movie. Where this movie falters is this movie is paced ridiculously quick. And, I felt, where this movie's clearly like a Die Hard knockoff, but you don't feel anything for the brother in this movie and his situation because it just brushes past all that stuff real quick to get to the action. And while that's fun and you have a good time, it doesn't make the movie feel a little weak, right? When it's having moments where it's trying to make you care about some of the characters and the plot. It just doesn't work. It's not a horrible movie. I think there's a lot here that works. I was just very frustrated by a lot of the character beats and certain things and how rushed this whole movie was, really. The writing here was not great for that reason. And it just made for a very clunky movie that... You have a real problem with this movie. It's a Die Hard ripoff. And maybe more so than that Dwayne Johnson movie, Skyscraper. Because that movie, I would say, yes, is a Die Hard ripoff, but there's more of an attempt to give you like a different feel here. Where this movie like literally steals like entire beats, beat for beat. Like the main villain falls out of fucking window. Oh, what does that sound like? And it's not that you can't do those things, but at a certain point, it's like this movie really wasn't trying to be its own thing and stop. And when it was, it went right back to being a fucking Die Hard ripoff, and none of it worked. And so, it's not a perfect movie. I think it's a fun enough action movie. I had a good enough time. There's a couple regulars that come to the theater I work at, so it's a different theater just because we weren't showing it. And, they asked me how it was, and they had a good enough time. And I kind of agree. It's kind of a mixed bag of a movie like that, where, I was entertained, but I can't say that I was also impressed at all by any means. Don't. waste your time in the theater with this one, is what I will say. But I think if you really like action movies, you have a good enough time. Though honestly, there's not a lot out this weekend, so maybe if you have the couple extra bucks to go to the theater and you're itching to see a movie, maybe this is a good one to check out if you've seen everything like me. But I think overall this is a pretty flop movie.